Rasmus Højlund directly told he must leave as AC Milan prepare £40 million bid. Welcome to United News, the most reliable source for Manchester United transfer news and insider information. While other outlets speculate and guess, we bring you the hard facts about what is really happening behind the scenes at Old Trafford. Today we have exclusive details about a conversation that will change everything for Rasmus Højlund and his future at Manchester United. The conversation that changes everything. Can you imagine being a 22-year-old footballer and being told by your club that you need to leave to get playing time? This is exactly what has happened to Rasmus Højlund at Manchester United. The Danish striker has been directly informed by club officials that he will need to find a new team if he wants regular football this season. This is not a rumor or speculation. According to transfer expert Ben Jacobs, Højlund has been clearly told that his chances of playing regularly at Manchester United are very limited with Benjamin Sesko arriving. The club has essentially given him permission to leave and are actively helping him find a new destination. But why has it come to this point so quickly? How did a player who cost £72 million just 2 years ago end up in this situation? And what does this tell us about how Manchester United now operate in the transfer market? The answers to these questions reveal a story about modern football that is both fascinating and brutal in equal measure. The numbers that tell the whole story. To understand why Manchester United are ready to let Rasmus Højlund leave, we need to look at the cold hard facts about his time at Old Trafford. These numbers paint a picture that explains everything about this difficult decision. Since joining Manchester United from Atlanta for £72 million 2 years ago, Højlund has played 62 Premier League games. In those 62 games, he has scored just 4 goals. Let that sink in for a moment. 4 goals in 62 Premier League appearances for a striker who cost more than £70 million. The statistics get even more concerning when you look at them in detail. Højlund has failed to score in 49 of his 62 Premier League games for Manchester United. That means he has been unable to find the net in nearly 80% of his league appearances. His overall record across all competitions shows 10 goals in 52 appearances last season alone. For a striker at a club like Manchester United, these numbers are simply not acceptable. The club needs someone who can score 20 to 25 goals per season, not someone who struggles to reach double figures. Perhaps the most damning statistic is his goal drought. Between December and March, Højlund went 21 games without scoring a single goal. For any striker, this would be concerning. For someone who cost £72 million, it is completely unacceptable. These numbers explain why Manchester United have lost patience with Højlund and why they are willing to let him leave despite his young age and previous potential. How much Manchester United paid and what they expected. When Manchester United signed Rasmus Højlund from Atlanta in 2023, they thought they were getting one of the most promising young strikers in European football. The initial plan was to pay around £45 million, but the final fee ended up being much higher. The total cost was £64 million upfront plus another £8 million in potential add-ons. This brought the total possible fee to £72 million, making Højlund one of the most expensive signings in Manchester United's history. What makes this fee even more shocking is what Atlanta had paid for Højlund just 1 year earlier. The Italian club bought him from Austrian team Sturm Graz for less than £15 million. This means his value supposedly increased by more than £50 million in just 1 season. The fee was controversial at the time because Højlund had scored only 9 goals in 32 Serie A appearances for Atlanta. Many experts questioned whether he was worth such a huge investment based on so little evidence of consistent goal scoring. Manchester United clearly believed they were buying a player who would develop into a 20-goal-per-season striker within a year or 2. They thought his physical attributes, pace, and technical skills would make him perfect for the Premier League. Unfortunately, this prediction has not come true. AC Milan's interest and the deal structure. AC Milan have emerged as the most likely destination for Rasmus Højlund, and the structure of their proposed deal shows how carefully modern clubs approach expensive transfers. The Italian giants are not willing to take a huge financial risk, but they are prepared to give Højlund the chance to prove himself. According to multiple reports, AC Milan are proposing a loan deal with an option to buy Højlund permanently next summer. The loan fee would be between £4 and £5.2 million, depending on which report you believe. The option to buy is set at around £39 to £40 million. This structure makes perfect sense from Milan's perspective. They get to sign a potentially world-class striker without making a huge financial commitment up front. If Højlund rediscovers his best form, they can buy him permanently for a reasonable fee. If he continues to struggle, they can send him back to Manchester United without losing too much money. For Manchester United, this deal structure is less ideal but still acceptable given the circumstances. They would prefer to sell Højlund permanently and recover as much money as possible from their investment. However, they understand that no club will pay £72 million for a striker who has scored just 4 Premier League goals. The total value of the deal, if Milan activate their option to buy, would be around £44 million. This represents a significant loss for Manchester United, but it might be the best they can hope for given Højlund's poor performance record. Milan are also willing to cover Højlund's salary during the loan period, which helps Manchester United save money and makes the deal more attractive for them. Why AC Milan makes perfect sense for Højlund. The potential move to AC Milan could be exactly what Rasmus Højlund needs to rebuild his career and rediscover his confidence. There are several reasons why this destination makes perfect sense for the struggling striker. First and most importantly, Højlund has already proven he can score goals in Serie A. His record at Atlanta might not have been spectacular, but he showed enough quality to convince Manchester United to spend £72 million on him. Returning to a league where he has previous success could help restore his confidence. Serie A is also generally considered to be more tactical and less physical than the Premier League. This could suit Højlund's playing style better and give him more time and space to show his technical abilities. The pace of games in Italy is often slower, which might help him settle into a rhythm. AC Milan have an excellent track record of developing young players and helping them reach their potential. The club's coaching staff might be able to identify what has gone wrong with Højlund's game at Manchester United and work with him to correct these issues. The pressure at Milan might also be more manageable than at Manchester United. While Milan are certainly a big club with high expectations, the scrutiny from media and fans is generally less intense than what players face in the Premier League. Playing in Italy would also give Højlund the chance to experience a different football culture and learn new aspects of the game. This international experience could make him a more complete player and help him if he ever returns to England in the future. What went wrong at Manchester United? To understand why Rasmus Højlund is leaving Manchester United, we need to examine what went wrong during his time at Old Trafford. This analysis helps us understand not just his individual situation, but also broader lessons about football transfers and player development. The biggest problem has been his struggle to adapt to the pace and physicality of the Premier League. Coming from Serie A, where games are often more tactical and measured, Højlund found it difficult to cope with the intensity of English football. Defenders were stronger, faster, and more aggressive than what he was used to. His positioning in the penalty area has also been inconsistent. Good strikers have an instinct for being in the right place at the right time, but Højlund has often been caught in the wrong positions when chances arrive. This has led to missed opportunities and frustrated teammates. Confidence has clearly been another major issue. After missing several good chances early in his Manchester United career, Højlund seemed to become more hesitant in front of goal. Instead of shooting instinctively, he began to overthink his decisions and miss opportunities he would have scored in the past. The tactical system at Manchester United might not have suited his strengths either. Højlund is best when he has space to run into and teammates who can play through balls for him. But Manchester United often played in a way that required their striker to hold up the ball and bring others into play, which is not his strongest area. Injuries and fitness issues have also disrupted his progress. It is difficult to build momentum and confidence when you are constantly dealing with physical problems and missing training sessions or games. The direct conversation about his future. The revelation that Rasmus Højlund has been directly told he needs to leave Manchester United to get playing time shows how clear the club has been about his situation. This level of honesty is both brutal and necessary in modern football. Being told directly that you are not wanted is never easy for any player, but it is better than being left in uncertainty about your future. Højlund now knows exactly where he stands and can make informed decisions about what to do next. This direct approach also shows that Manchester United are trying to handle the situation professionally. Instead of keeping Højlund around as an unhappy squad player, they are actively helping him find a solution that works for his career development. The timing of this conversation is also significant. It happened after Manchester United completed the Benjamin Sesko signing, confirming that the two events are directly connected. The club waited until they had secured their replacement before telling Højlund about their plans. From Højlund's perspective, this conversation probably came as both a shock and a relief. While it is disappointing to be told you are not needed, at least he now has clarity about his situation and can focus on finding the right move for his career. Milan's valuation and why it works for everyone. The fact that AC Milan are willing to meet Manchester United's £40 million valuation shows that they still believe in Rasmus Højlund's potential despite his struggles in England. This valuation, while much lower than what United originally paid, is still significant and shows Højlund retains considerable value in the transfer market. The £40 million figure represents a compromise between what Manchester United would ideally want and what is realistic given Højlund's recent performances. The club knows they will not recover the full £72 million they originally spent, but £40 million would at least help them recoup a substantial portion of their investment. For AC Milan, £40 million for a 22-year-old striker with Premier League experience represents potentially excellent value. If Højlund can rediscover his best form, he could be worth much more than that in a few years. Even if he only performs at an average level, £40 million is not an unreasonable price for a player of his age and attributes. The loan-to-buy structure also protects Milan from making a mistake. They can assess how well Højlund fits into their system and whether he can score goals consistently before committing to the full fee. This reduces their risk while giving them access to a player who could potentially transform their attack. The timeline and pressure to decide. Time is running out for all parties involved in the Rasmus Højlund transfer saga. AC Milan want to know if the deal can be completed by the middle of August, or they will move on to other targets like Dusan Vlahovic from Juventus. This deadline creates pressure on both Højlund and Manchester United to make a decision quickly. The Danish striker needs to decide whether he is willing to accept the loan move with uncertain long-term prospects, or whether he wants to stay and fight for his place at Old Trafford. For Manchester United, the pressure is financial and tactical. They need to know if they can count on any transfer fee from Højlund's departure, and whether they need to look for additional attacking options before the transfer window closes. The middle of August deadline is significant because it gives Milan time to integrate a new striker into their squad before the Serie A season gets underway. If they cannot sign Højlund by then, they need enough time to pursue and complete deals for alternative targets. This timeline pressure often leads to quick decisions that might not be perfect for all parties involved. However, in this case, the basic framework of the deal seems to make sense for everyone, so reaching an agreement should be possible if all sides are willing to be slightly flexible. What this means for Manchester United's transfer strategy. The handling of the Rasmus Højlund situation reveals important details about Manchester United's current transfer strategy and how they approach decisions about underperforming players. This represents a significant change from how the club operated in previous years. In the past, Manchester United often kept players for too long, hoping they would eventually come good and justify their transfer fees. This approach led to several players staying at the club for years without making meaningful contributions, taking up squad spaces and wages that could have been used more effectively. The new approach appears to be much more ruthless and business-focused. If a player is not performing at the required level, the club is willing to cut their losses and move on quickly. This might seem harsh, but it could be more effective in building a successful team. This change in strategy probably reflects the influence of the current management team and their determination to compete at the highest level. They understand that sentimental decisions and hope are not enough to win trophies in modern football. However, this approach also comes with risks. If Manchester United become too quick to give up on young players, they might miss out on late developers who could become stars with more time and patience. Finding the right balance between being decisive and being patient is one of the biggest challenges in football management. The financial reality of modern football transfers. The Rasmus Højlund situation perfectly illustrates both the opportunities and dangers of modern football transfers. When clubs spend enormous amounts of money on players, the pressure for immediate success becomes overwhelming. Manchester United spent £72 million on Højlund, expecting him to become their main goalscorer within a year or two. When this did not happen, they faced a difficult choice. Keep hoping he would improve, or cut their losses and try again with someone else. The decision to let him go for around £40 million represents a loss of at least £32 million on their original investment. This is an enormous amount of money that could have been spent on other players or facilities for the club. However, keeping an underperforming player just to avoid accepting a loss can be even more expensive in the long run. His wages, squad registration, and opportunity cost of not having a better player in that position could end up costing more than the transfer loss. This situation also shows why many clubs are now more careful about the fees they pay for young players. While potential is valuable, proven performance is much more reliable when making investment decisions. How Sesko's arrival changes everything. The arrival of Benjamin Sesko for £73.7 million creates a completely new dynamic in Manchester United's attack. This signing essentially guarantees that there is no realistic path for Højlund to become the main striker at Old Trafford. Sesko brings everything that Højlund has failed to provide during his time at Manchester United. His goal record at RB Leipzig is much better, his physical attributes are more impressive, and his overall game seems better suited to the demands of Premier League football. At 6 feet 5 inches tall, Sesko offers Manchester United a completely different type of attacking threat. His height and strength allow him to win aerial duels and hold up play in ways that Højlund has struggled to do consistently. More importantly, Sesko has proven he can score goals regularly at the highest level. His 39 goals in 87 appearances for RB Leipzig represent the kind of consistent productivity that Manchester United need from their main striker. The club's willingness to spend £73.7 million on Sesko, while letting Højlund go for around £40 million, shows how much more highly they rate their new signing. This is not just about making room in the squad, it is about upgrading to a significantly better player. The loan structure and why it appeals to all parties. The proposed loan deal with AC Milan includes several elements that make it attractive to all parties involved. Understanding why this structure works helps explain why the transfer is likely to happen despite some initial complications. For AC Milan, the loan arrangement allows them to sign a potentially excellent striker without making a huge financial commitment immediately. They pay around £4 to £5 million for the loan fee, which is relatively modest for a player of Højlund's profile and potential. The option to buy at £39 to £40 million gives Milan flexibility to assess Højlund's performance before deciding whether to make the move permanent. If he scores 20 goals and plays brilliantly, they will definitely activate the option. If he struggles, they can return him to Manchester United without major financial damage. For Manchester United, this structure is not ideal but represents the best available option given the circumstances. They would prefer an immediate permanent sale, but they understand that no club will pay full price for a striker with Højlund's recent record. The loan fee provides some immediate income, while the potential £40 million option fee would help them recover a significant portion of their original investment. Even more importantly, they remove his wages from their budget and create space for other signings. For Højlund himself, the loan move offers the chance to rebuild his career and prove his worth without completely burning bridges with Manchester United. If things go well at Milan, he could either stay there permanently or return to England as a more confident and proven player. What Milan are really getting. Despite his struggles at Manchester United, AC Milan are getting a player with genuine talent and potential in Rasmus Højlund. His problems in England do not necessarily mean he lacks the ability to succeed elsewhere. At 22 years old, Højlund is still young enough to improve significantly and learn from his experiences. Many great strikers have had difficult periods early in their careers before developing into world-class players. His age means Milan could potentially have 8 to 10 years of good performances if he fulfills his potential. His physical attributes remain impressive even if his goal-scoring record does not. At 6 feet 3 inches tall with good pace, he has the tools to succeed in Serie A. His technical skills are also solid, and his first touch and passing ability are better than his goal statistics might suggest. Højlund's experience in different leagues could also be valuable for Milan. He has played in Austria, Italy, and England, giving him exposure to different styles of football and tactical approaches. This experience could help him adapt quickly to Milan's system. Most importantly, Milan are getting a player who will be highly motivated to prove his doubters wrong. The disappointment of his Manchester United experience should drive him to work harder and perform better at his new club. The pressure on Højlund to succeed. If Rasmus Højlund does move to AC Milan, he will be under enormous pressure to justify both clubs' faith in him. This will probably be his last chance to prove he can be a top-level striker, and failure in Italy could seriously damage his career prospects. The pressure comes from several sources. First, Milan will expect him to score goals regularly and help them compete for trophies. They are not signing him as a development project. They need someone who can contribute immediately to their success. Second, Manchester United and their fans will be watching closely to see if they made the right decision in letting him go. If Højlund becomes a star at Milan, it will make United's decision look very poor and raise questions about their player development methods. Third, Højlund will be playing for his own career and reputation. At 22, he still has time to recover from his Manchester United disappointment, but he needs to start proving himself soon. Another season of poor performances could make it very difficult for him to get opportunities at top clubs in the future. The pressure could either motivate Højlund to reach new heights or could overwhelm him and lead to more struggles. His mental strength and ability to handle expectations will be crucial factors in determining his success at Milan. Manchester United's squad planning without Højlund. With Rasmus Højlund likely to leave and Benjamin Sesko arriving, Manchester United need to think carefully about their attacking options for the upcoming season. Having just one main striker could be risky, especially given the demanding schedule that top clubs face. Sesko will clearly be the first-choice striker, but what happens if he gets injured or needs a rest? Manchester United might need to rely on players like Marcus Rashford or other attacking players to fill in as emergency strikers. This situation might force the club to look for additional attacking options before the transfer window closes. They could target a more experienced striker who would be happy to play a backup role, or they could promote a young player from their academy system. The departure of Højlund also creates opportunities for other players in the squad. Youngsters who might not have gotten chances otherwise could find themselves closer to the first team. This could be positive for the club's long-term development. However, the lack of striker depth could become a problem if Sesko takes time to adapt to English football or if he suffers any injury problems. Manchester United will need to carefully manage their attacking resources to avoid finding themselves short of options. The broader lessons about player development. The Rasmus Højlund saga offers important lessons about player development and the challenges of transitioning between different leagues and levels of football. These lessons extend far beyond just this one player and this one club. First, it shows that potential does not always translate into performance. Højlund had all the physical and technical attributes to succeed, but he could not put them together consistently enough to justify his price tag. This reminds us that football is as much about mental strength and game understanding as it is about natural ability. Second, it demonstrates how crucial the right environment is for player development. What works for a player at one club might not work at another, even if both clubs are at a similar level. The tactical system, coaching methods, and overall culture can all affect how well a player performs. Third, it highlights the importance of patience and realistic expectations when developing young players. The pressure on Højlund to succeed immediately might have actually hindered his development and made it harder for him to reach his potential. Finally, it shows how quickly situations can change in modern football. 2 years ago, Højlund was one of the most promising young strikers in Europe. Today, he is being moved on by the club that paid a fortune for him. This rapid change of fortune is increasingly common in today's game. What success at Milan would look like? If Rasmus Højlund does move to AC Milan, what would constitute success for both the player and the club? Setting realistic expectations is important for everyone involved in this potential transfer. For Højlund personally, success would mean rediscovering his confidence and goal-scoring form. A target of 15 to 20 goals in all competitions during his loan season would represent a significant improvement on his Manchester United record and prove he can still be an effective striker. More importantly, he needs to show he can perform consistently over a full season. Short bursts of good form followed by long periods of struggle will not be enough to convince Milan to make his move permanent or to attract interest from other top clubs. For AC Milan, success would mean getting a striker who helps them compete for the Serie A title and perform well in European competitions. They need Højlund to be more than just a backup option. They need him to be a genuine threat that opponents have to worry about. If Højlund can achieve these goals during his loan spell, it would benefit everyone involved. He would rebuild his career, Milan would get a valuable player, and Manchester United would receive a good fee when the option to buy is activated. The alternative scenarios. While a move to AC Milan seems most likely, there are other possible outcomes for Rasmus Højlund's situation. Understanding these alternatives helps us see the full range of possibilities for his immediate future. One scenario is that Højlund decides to stay at Manchester United and fight for his place despite being told he will not get regular playing time. This would be a brave decision but probably not a smart one given that Sesko is clearly the preferred choice. Another possibility is that other clubs could enter the race for Højlund's signature. If Milan cannot agree terms quickly enough, teams like RB Leipzig or other European clubs might make offers. This could create competition that drives up his price and gives him more options. There is also the chance that Manchester United could change their minds if they struggle to find adequate backup striker options. If Sesko gets injured during pre-season or if other attacking players leave unexpectedly, the club might decide to keep Højlund after all. However, the most likely scenario remains a loan move to AC Milan with an option to buy. This solution addresses everyone's main concerns and provides the best outcome for Højlund's career development. Conclusion. The end of one chapter and the beginning of another. The direct conversation between Manchester United and Rasmus Højlund about his future marks the end of what has been a disappointing chapter for both the player and the club. What was supposed to be a dream move to one of the world's biggest clubs has turned into a learning experience about the harsh realities of modern football. At Unite United News, we have followed Højlund's journey from his promising start to his current struggles with complete honesty and fairness. While we always hoped he would succeed at Old Trafford, we cannot ignore the facts about his performances and what they mean for Manchester United's ambitions. The decision to let him leave is probably the right one for everyone involved. Højlund gets the chance to rebuild his career in an environment where he has previously been successful. Manchester United make room for Benjamin Sesko to establish himself as the main striker. AC Milan get the opportunity to sign a player with huge potential at a reasonable price. This situation also shows how quickly things can change in football and why no player can ever take their position for granted. 2 years ago, Højlund was being hailed as the future of Manchester United's attack. Today, he is packing his bags and preparing for a new challenge in Italy. For Manchester United fans, this represents both an ending and a beginning. The ending of the Højlund experiment, which promised so much but delivered so little. The beginning of the Sesko era, which could finally solve the club's striker problems and help them return to winning ways. Keep following Unite United News for all the latest developments on both the Højlund departure and the Sesko arrival. We will continue to provide you with the most accurate and comprehensive coverage of everything happening at Manchester United. The next few weeks will be crucial for determining how this story develops. Will Højlund agree to the Milan move? Will he find his scoring touch in Serie A? Will Sesko prove to be the striker Manchester United have been waiting for? Only time will provide these answers. But one thing is certain. This summer's transfer activity will be remembered as a turning point in Manchester United's recent history. The decisions made now will shape the club's future for years to come. And at Unite United News, we will be here to cover every moment of this fascinating journey.